You open your laptop to finally start the report. You stare at the blank page. 10 minutes pass. You check your phone. 20 minutes pass. You reorganize your desk. An hour later, the page is still blank, and you feel worse than when you started. You tell yourself you're lazy. You tell yourself you just need more discipline. But that's not what's actually happening in your brain. Here's the real reason you procrastinate, and it has almost nothing to do with laziness. Psychologist Piers Steel spent over a decade studying procrastination, and his research found something surprising. Procrastination isn't a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the feeling the task creates in you. Think about that for a second. The report doesn't scare you. The boredom of writing it does. The fear of doing it badly does. The pressure of it mattering does. Your brain isn't lazy. Your brain is protecting you from discomfort. So what actually happens in your mind in that moment you choose your phone over the task? Let's reconstruct it. Deep inside your brain sits a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Its job is simple. Detect threats and get you away from them fast. When you look at that blank page, your amygdala doesn't see a document. It sees a threat. Failure. Judgment. Not being good enough. And it fires off a stress signal before you've even had time to think. At the same time, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, focus, and long-term thinking, is supposed to step in and say, "This task matters, let's do it anyway." But here's the problem. The prefrontal cortex is slow. It's thoughtful. It's easily overpowered. And the amygdala is fast. It's instant. It wins almost every single time. Your brain makes a trade. It swaps a hard feeling now for an easy feeling now. Checking your phone. Cleaning your desk. Watching one more video. Every one of those actions gives you a small hit of relief. And relief feels like dopamine. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the reward chemical. It's actually more accurate to call it the anticipation chemical. It spikes right before a reward, not just after. That's why picking up your phone feels good even before you unlock it. Your brain has learned that phone equals relief, and it starts anticipating that relief the moment stress appears. This is the loop. Task creates discomfort. Discomfort triggers avoidance. Avoidance creates dopamine relief. Relief reinforces avoidance as the answer next time. You're not choosing distraction because you're weak. You're choosing it because your brain has been trained to. And the loop gets stronger every single time you run it. Neuroscientists call this reinforcement learning. Your brain is constantly updating a kind of internal scoreboard, tracking which actions lead to relief and which ones lead to pain. Every time you check your phone instead of starting the task, you're not just avoiding discomfort once. You're teaching your brain that avoidance is the winning move. Next time the discomfort shows up, the shortcut is even easier to reach for, because the pathway has already been carved. This is why procrastination rarely feels like a conscious decision. It feels automatic, almost instant, like your hand is moving toward your phone before your mind has caught up. That's because it is automatic. You've built the habit loop so many times that your brain doesn't need to think anymore. It just runs the program. Here's a study that makes this even clearer. Researcher Fuschia Sirois, who has spent years studying the link between procrastination and well-being, found that people who procrastinate more actually score higher on measures of present-moment mood repair. In plain English, procrastination works. It genuinely makes you feel better right now. That's exactly why it's so hard to stop. It's not a broken habit. It's a habit that's doing exactly what it evolved to do, just at the cost of your future self. And that phrase, your future self, is the key to everything. Sirois found that people who procrastinate tend to view their future self almost like a stranger. Someone else's problem. Someone who can deal with the consequences later. When you put off the report, you're not being irresponsible to yourself. You're outsourcing the pain to a person who feels disconnected from who you are right now. Twist. You don't have a procrastination problem. You have an emotional regulation problem wearing a procrastination costume. This changes everything about how you fix it. Most advice tells you to build more discipline, set stricter deadlines, use more willpower. But willpower is a limited resource, and forcing yourself through discomfort over and over just burns you out faster. You end up right back at the blank page, except now you're also exhausted. The real fix starts somewhere much smaller. Behavioral scientist BJ Fogg, who runs the behavior design lab at Stanford, discovered that the biggest barrier to starting any task isn't motivation. It's friction. His research shows that if you shrink a task down small enough, the emotional threat disappears, and so does the resistance. So instead of telling yourself, I need to write the whole report, you tell yourself, I'm going to write one sentence. That's it. One sentence doesn't threaten your amygdala. It doesn't trigger the fear of failure, because you can't really fail at one sentence. And here's what's fascinating. Once you start, momentum takes over almost automatically. Motivation doesn't come before action. Motivation comes after it. That single idea reverses everything you've been taught about getting things done. You don't wait to feel ready. You act your way into feeling ready. Author James Clear built an entire framework around this same principle. He calls it the 2-minute rule. Any habit you want to build, you shrink down until it takes 2 minutes or less. Not read for an hour, just read one page. Not go for a full workout, just put on your running shoes. The point was never really about 2 minutes. The point is bypassing the threat detector in your brain long enough to get your body moving. Once you're moving, continuing is far easier than starting ever was. This also explains something you've probably felt but never quite understood. The hardest part of any task isn't finishing it. It's the 10 seconds right before you begin. That's the peak of the discomfort curve. Once you cross it, the anxiety almost always drops, often faster than you expect. But your brain, protecting you from a threat that isn't real, will do everything it can to keep you standing at that 10-second mark forever, because from its perspective, that's the safest place to be. There's a modern layer to all of this that makes it harder than it's ever been. Your phone is engineered by teams of people whose entire job is to make avoidance as rewarding as possible. Every notification, every red badge, every infinite scroll is a shortcut straight to the dopamine relief your brain is already craving. You're not just fighting your own amygdala anymore. You're fighting a product designed to become a person with superhuman willpower. The goal is to make the hard thing slightly easier than the escape, and make the escape slightly harder to reach. Put your phone in another room. Open the document before you open anything else. Shrink the first step until it's almost embarrassingly small. Think about how differently this reframes the way you judge yourself. You've probably spent years assuming that other people, the ones who seem endlessly productive, simply have more willpower than you. But willpower isn't the variable that separates them. Friction is. They've built environments where the easy choice and the right choice are almost the same choice. Their phone is in another room. Their gym clothes are already laid out. Their first task of the day is already open on the screen before they even sit down. They're not resisting temptation more than you. They've simply removed more of it. This is also why relying purely on guilt never works long term. Guilt adds another layer of discomfort on top of a brain that's already avoiding discomfort. It doesn't break the loop. It feeds it. The way out isn't shame. It's designing your environment so the path of least resistance points toward the task instead of away from it. Look back at that moment from the beginning. You, staring at the blank page, phone in hand, feeling like you're failing yourself. That was never a discipline problem. That was your brain doing exactly what it was built to do, protecting you from a feeling it mistook for danger. You don't need to fight your brain harder. You need to stop making the first step feel like a threat. Because the moment it stops feeling like danger, your brain stops running from it. So open the laptop again. Don't write the report. Just write one sentence. That's where it actually begins.